Let's go. Consider me a big shot. What up to Stevie? Mimi, Scrap, yo. I'm on my love and hip hop. Yeah, so solid, it flows through my body. And if you got it, love, I'm told that's where God is. I'm Tyrone Higgins. Whenever love is given to be pragmatic, I'm just an addict for your love. I got a habit. My problems disappear when love's connected. I never wanna take back an hour, minute, or second. What a blessing. Love ain't proud, it ain't rude. Love, it rejoices in telling the truth. Love is so patient, kind, it doesn't envy. Love your friends, love your enemies. I hope this love sink in. Got love for my neighbor, agape phileo. Let me be more convincing. Maybe you can dive in and exegete or censor, dissect the scripture where Bishop we show love. Or if you a sinner, transgender like Bruce Jenner, well, Caitlyn, we show more love. We use basic math, don't subtract, divide it. God can take one love, then add or multiply it. Don't wanna swear by it. I promise if you don't have love, your life will be full of the opposite. And that's a big mistake. We trying to demonstrate all love in sync like Justin Timberlake. And that's a big mistake. We trying to demonstrate all love in sync like Justin Timberlake. If it cost $1 million, or if it was free, I love you, you love me. Let's put love together. Love sing, love sing, love sing, love sing.
Hey, y'all, how's it going today? This is Brother John McGriff with Love Sinks Ministries, and this is another episode of Love Session. This will be my second interview today. Earlier at 11 o'clock, I had on from the world famous jazz family out of New Orleans, Louisiana, my friend Delphio Marcellus, the trombone player. Well, he does write plays too, but he also composes music for sitcoms, and he also is a songwriter. And today will be joining me again, somebody else from New Orleans, even though they live in the DFW area. They will be jumping on here pretty soon. So before they come on, let me say it again. We're trying to monetize Facebook and YouTube. And why are we trying to monetize them? Not to buy a house, not to buy a car, not to buy Rolexes and expensive presents for each other. But I want to monetize this so I can give back to you. So make sure on Facebook that you leave comments, you like. On YouTube, you leave comments, you like, you subscribe, you hit the notification bell, all that stuff. Let's pump this stuff up so I can start giving money back to you, the subscribers that's going to be making this show possible and to stay going. And then also you can put in who you might like to me to interview. I can look them up, call them up, whatever the case may be. So you can say, hey, won't you talk to this guy, this girl, or these people, or this organization? I'll talk to anybody. It don't make no difference to me, because I walk as in our foundation of scripture, 1 John 4:8, saying, he that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. So when I talk about love, I'm talking about God. I'm not talking about the worldly version of love where it says love is a strong feeling, emotion, or affection towards someone or something. Because if that's your definition of love, that's temporal stuff and it can go away. I'm talking about love, aka God, that's the same today, yesterday, and forever, and is everlasting. So like I said, so do me a favor, let's pump this thing up so I can start giving money away to you, because I have no more fun to me than giving away money to people being able to help them. Like I said, when we was doing our Love Sync Ministries meetings, we always gave gift cards away with different amounts of money on it and just giving it away to people. We just had fun little games that we would do to give the money away, and I love giving back. So let's do that. Let's make this happen so we can start giving back as soon as possible. So again, we're just waiting on Mr. Well, I'm not gonna say his name yet till he jump on, but just waiting on my guest to show up. He's called him and he's getting the link, and he's trying to go ahead and make sure he can get in. So in the meantime, between time, let me tell you just a little bit why Love Sync Ministries and why we call it Love Sync. well, Love Sync Ministries. Oh, guess what? I don't have to go into it because guess what? The man of the hour has just clicked in, just popped on. So now I can go ahead and introduce him properly. Ladies and gentlemen, lives in the DFW area, but right now he's back home in New Orleans visiting his daughter. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for my main man, Christopher Young, aka G to the F Soldier. What's up, man? What's up?
Hey, what's going on?
Man, it's you. You the man with the plan. It's your world. I'm just a squirrel, and you know what I'm trying to get.
Oh, not me. Oh, not me, man. Not me. I'm trying to get that nut.
Uh-oh,
Sure.
uh-oh. I hear you gathering them up, though. You gather them up. Just don't leave me out for the winner when you get so many.
Oh man, I'm trying to leave a mark somewhere, you know.
All right. So what I like to
I
do,
got some work to do.
there you go. What I like to do is start off with my 5 questions just to get your juices flowing and get you in the right frame of mind to answer questions. So the first thing I want to ask you then is, what is your favorite kind of music?
Oh man, old school R&B.
Old school R&B. So when we say
Yes, sir.
old school, we talking about 70s, 60s, 80s.
A little bit of 70s, a little bit of 80s, basically 80s though. Basically
Okay.
80s.
All right then. And also, what would be your worst and your best job you had?
The worst job I had? Oh man, I was working at Winn-Dixie when I was a teenager. And
Okay. And I was just thinking about that the other day. Do they still even have Winn-Dixies anymore?
we got one Winn-Dixie out here. I think we got one Winn-Dixie out here in the east in the east location of New Orleans. I think we got one more left down here.
All right. What was your best job?
Oh man, my best job. Man, I was working at the Audubon Zoo my senior year in high school. That was my best job.
At which
I was
zoo?
working at the zoo. Huh?
Which zoo?
Audubon Zoo. That's the zoo in New Orleans. That was
Oh,
my best job. I had fun doing that.
Well, now, what did you like about working at the zoo?
Oh man, get to see the animals for free. Worked in the pizza parlor at that time, and it was just a little summer job I worked before I started college, my senior year in high school.
Oh, okay,
So-
okay, all right. So now, what country would you like to visit?
Oh man, I'd like to visit China. Now, I had Africa at one point, but I've been there already. I had Jamaica, and I visit there too. So, yeah, China would be my next visit. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And what is your favorite hobby or pastime?
I like to write. That's my hobby. That's my pastime. I like to write, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I love writing.
Okay, and the last one would be, it could be all 3 or one of them. What would be your favorite song, singer, or group?
Oh man, I got so many of those. My favorite song, man, that's crazy.
Just give me one of your favorites.
Man, I like Luther. I like "Promise Me" by Luther.
Oh, okay.
"Promise Me." My favorite singer. Shoot. Man, that's a tough man to come back with that. And my favorite group, you said singing group?
Yeah.
Yeah, New Edition, no doubt. It's my favorite singing group.
Okay. I got you. All right. So now what I like to do then is now get into the part where I ask you, when did you get saved?
My junior year in high school, except I was Catholic for quite a bit for most of my life. So my junior year in high school, I was about 19, and yeah, that's when I first knew what being saved was. You accept the invitation to discipleship and all that other stuff. But I was Catholic. I grew up as a Catholic the whole time. So yeah, I want to say at 19 I got saved.
Okay. Now, since I don't really know nothing about Catholics and I know people come from out of the where people go around and switch religions or faiths or what back and forth. So now, I can ask you this. So what was the big difference with you from Catholic to what do you believe in now though? What the non-denominational?
Yeah, I don't think Catholicism is much different. I think Catholicism, they take a different approach to it. Mass, what we call service in the Pentecostal era, they call service. They call it Mass in Catholicism. Communion, we do communion every Sunday instead of first Sunday like most Pentecostal people do. And we assist the priest, which other people call preacher, in the Mass. I was an altar boy at the time, and it's not different. I mean, what preachers call a sermon, and priests in Catholicism call it a homily, and so it's not much different. I think Christianity has many different facets. I think Christianity is a very diverse religion as far as practice is concerned. So I don't think it's much difference. I think what made the difference to me is when I got into Pentecostalism. The church I joined was a full gospel church, but I think it was birthed out of Pentecostal Church of God in Christ. And the attention to detail as it relates to the text, the Bible studies, it made me more concerned about understanding the Bible. And, Catholicism didn't do that. You go to Mass for 45 minutes to an hour, and then you're done for the rest of the day. They didn't focus much on scripture as Pentecostalism do. The preacher would have someone to come up to do the first and second reading. And then, of course, the priest would come with the homily, and that'll be about 15 to 20 minutes. And then, we do a profession of faith, take communion, and pray ourselves out of there, and Mass will be over in 45 minutes to an hour. So I love the choirs. I love the camaraderie. I love the whole, what people would say, worship experience. And so the worship experience got me interested in that. And then, I learned about some of the most powerful preachers to ever live, back in that day. So because the attention to detail to the text, that's what got me converted to that style of Christianity called Pentecostalism, if you will.
So like you say, you was young age, and and as most people I interview, the majority of them seems like they get saved in that 18 to 24 time frame. Then since everybody's young and you're being influenced by younger people, so when did your backsliding, or I say the moonwalk, start?
The backsliding start? Oh man, it probably started immediately, I want to say. Because I was just learning what backsliding was. Like, they don't teach you that in Catholicism. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Jesus is still the main objective, even in Catholicism. So that's why I say it's not much different from Christianity, because we still serve the guy who we call Christ, who gave his life for us. So I probably was backsliding before I came to, if you want to look at it from that perspective, I probably was already backsliding before I came to Christ in that manner. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that started immediately, So, before I started recognizing what this was and what that was, Catholicism didn't give much detail to sin and didn't put much emphasis on sin and do not magnify sin like Pentecostalism, Church of God in Christ, and, everything that is birthed itself out of that particular era of Pentecostalism. So,
all right. So now, when did you start saying, "Okay, time for me to get right, take this walk serious, and start walking in that faith"? When did that?
Yeah, when my children were born, I think I took it seriously when my children were born. My children are both 15 now; they'll be 16. February 15th and March 17th, respectively. And so when my children were born, and I realized that both are born out of wedlock, both are a month apart, both are for two different women, I started taking it seriously then, because I started practicing celibacy and things of that magnitude, trying to get myself right, noticing that there's a part of me that does exist other than this this spiritual aspect of me, and this is a daily practice. This is not something. It's not something that you could do, get saved, and then that's it. No, there's a daily practice of being saved. There's a behavior that comes along with it, and if you don't practice it daily and acknowledge that you have some flaws, you have some weaknesses, and things of that magnitude, and what they call the fruits of the spirit, those particular things are what we use to cope with our works of the flesh. Because, you know, in Galatians, I think it's 5 and 17, there's like 19 works of the flesh, but there's 9 fruits of the spirit. So we use the 9 fruits of the spirit to navigate our behavior in a certain kind of way, to be able to cope with it, to be able to live that daily life. Because when you're transformed by the renewing of your mind, it's continuous. That I continuous. So children, that's with us, because, you know, sometimes live down the fact that, you know, when you introduce your children as being the same age, you know, you can't really live that down. I mean, it's obvious what act took place at that particular time. You know, and, you know, a lot of people say, well, what you were doing at that time? I said, well, what does it sound like I was doing? I was doing something that I shouldn't have been doing. I thought I was the big pimp at that time. And, you know, once my children was born, I felt like I had to get it together and be a good example for them. But I mean, the walk is still the walk. The war is still the war. The struggle is still real. And, you know, if you don't practice, you know, that daily practice on a daily basis and become more repetitive to it in your practice, then you can easily fall back into it, or you can relapse. Like if you're an addict, you can relapse, and relapse will be the equivalent to backsliding. And you know, so that's when I really started doing it. So my children were born when I made 15 years ago. I was 31 at the time, so I'm 46 now, and that's when I started taking it seriously. But it's still a challenge, though. Still quite a challenge when there's so much temptation. You know, John says, all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. So it's out there as soon as you walk out that door. So you have to really practice what you're doing so it can become habitual, you know, more so than that sinful walk being habitual. Because, I mean, both are habitual in and of itself. You know, you just got to be able to practice one over the other in order to maintain, you know.
So now, so you already said that both of your children are by 2 different women. And then now, so did you marry either one of those women, or did you got a totally different wife altogether?
I married my son's mother. Married my son's mother, and I'm very good friends, the best of friends with my daughter's mother, and her and my wife are good acquaintances. I won't say good friends. I will say good acquaintances, though. They get along very well, and so it was a blessing for me. But I had to take the accountability and ownership of what I did. Had to apologize to both of them, and I think that started the healing for both of them when I came clean and just completely owned 100% of what I did, and I unconditionally apologized to them. No ands, ifs, and buts about it, you know. And I think that was the start of the healing process for them. And I did whatever I could to repair the damages that I caused. A lot of the times we apologize, but we apologize for what we do, but we don't ever apologize for the damage that it caused. And so a lot of the times people don't want to stick around to help repair the damages that they caused, which can be painful, which can be, you know, painful on the part of the person that done it, because, you know, it makes you want to lash back. And so I gave both of them the opportunity to say ouch.
Right.
In whichever way they wanted to say ouch. Ouch don't always sound good. You know, sometimes you really just want to let that ouch out in whatever kind of way. So I gave them the opportunity to say ouch, and it was painful for me, but I had to understand this is what I put them through. So it was a long road, but, you know, we got it there, and we all get along. We one big happy family. So all right. That's what that was.
And you said you started taking your walk serious when your daughter was born. So your daughter's the oldest?
No, my son is the oldest. Here's the deal. My son is the oldest by birth. My daughter is the oldest by conception.
Okay.
Because my son came early. He was due in May, but he came in February. So he was about 1 pound 14 ounces. My daughter was due in April, but she came in March. So she came maybe a month early, but my son came 2 months, 27 days early. So my daughter was more of a full-term baby when she was born. But my son was a pound 14 ounces. But he didn't have any real deep issues except for the fact that he was a premature baby and his lungs were underdeveloped. Well, everything was underdeveloped at that time. And so so my son is the oldest by birth because he came first, but my daughter's the oldest by conception.
Okay, I got you. So now, like I said, so now you're maturing in your walk, you're learning, you're doing your daily thing. So now actually, it's a two-part question. So the first part is then, how do you feel that your walk and your maturity in faith help you as a man and with your wife? And then how has that also been you being able to be a good example for both your daughter and your son, because they both have to look at you in different ways as they grow up and they start, dating or looking for a husband or a wife?
Well, see, here's the deal with that. When you look at Christianity, and I defined it in this way as I begin to mature, Christianity is a mirror turned inward. And so that daily practice and that daily walk should start with the mirror turned inward. I don't think that the mirror should ever be turned outward. And Christianity has had a bad rap for turning the mirror outward all the time without doing this. Right. You know what I'm saying? So the daily thing, like, Paul, and here's the thing, and I tell people all the time, well, I'm a liar, I'm a cheater, I'm promiscuous. I have all those things that still exist. But I do have those 9 fruits of the spirit that help me to manage these things. Like, I still love women. I still have those nasty thoughts when I see a woman walking that looks a certain kind of way, and I'm looking for more. I'm looking at more than admiration. It's more than just admiration that I'm looking at. So I have to acknowledge that I have those things, like Paul did. Paul didn't say I was carnal, sold into slavery of sin. Paul said I am carnal, sold to the sin of slavery of sin. He never said, oh, wretched man that I was. He said, oh, wretched man that I am. So Paul acknowledged his present state of being, even though he was writing the books, even though he was saved at that time, he still acknowledged those fleshly things that exist in him. And as far as sinners is concerned, Paul said, I am chief. So I took that from Paul. I spearheaded that thing and I said, okay, this is who I am. I'm a liar. I'm this, that, and the other, and all other stuff. So when I feel myself having the urge to do these things, I call it out by name so that I can monitor it. Like the alcoholic says, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I'm alcoholic, and I'm 23 years sober. So my sobriety has been for a long time, but it doesn't mean that I can't relapse, or in Christendom, we'll say I can't backslide. So I want to make sure that I don't relapse and backslide. And sometimes, those backslide moments come, those relapse moments come, because we also have to manage our thoughts as well. For Solomon said, the thought of foolishness is sin. And, and lust, when it has been conceived by the thought, it brings forth sin. James said that. So Solomon saying in the Old Testament, James saying in the New Testament. So, it's a daily walk. And I make sure I don't beat myself up for it. But I do acknowledge that, okay, I still have these things that dwells within my flesh, and my flesh dwells no good thing, but I still have that flesh, and I still have some parts of me that are no good that I have to manage. And so I don't act like those things don't exist in me. I think the problem with most people who fall back into it, they act as though those parts of them don't exist, and they have to put on a mask to make it seem like we're such Mr. and Mrs. Goody Two-Shoes that we don't show that side of us. Well, that side of us does exist. And the more we deny it, the more we try to hide it, the more we try to mask it as if it doesn't exist, the more prone we are to fall back into it, because we're acting like we don't have those tendencies. But I know I do. And I wrote a book on it. I could be a trifling boy. And so, I deal with that triflingness on a daily basis.
So then, how do you feel, like you said, that your walk now helped you to become a better man and a better husband?
How has it helped me? Well, just to be able to, accountability is a big thing with me. Accountability is what helped me to grow, what helped me to mature, and it helped me to accept myself holistically. You know, a lot of the times we despise that part of us that we hate, but you know, Jesus never said, "I love only the part of you that does well." When Jesus died for us, he died for us holistically. So he loves that, the part that we despise so much, he loves that just as much as the good side of us. So I begin to accept all of my flaws. I begin to become more embracing of my flaws and everything, and not judge myself in such a harsh way that I beat up on myself. I condemn myself. I put myself in the hell. I put myself in hell before God does, you know. And so I started being more forgiving of myself and more accepting of my flaws. Accept all of your flaws. No one can really use it against you. And so when you throw stuff in my face about stuff that I am, you know, hey, I understand. Like, you can no longer be offended by what people say about you once you have accepted yourself holistically. You know, a lot of people get offended when somebody points out something about them that exists, but because it's been in hiding so long, we get offended and we want to lash out at people. I don't lash out at people no more. That's what you see. That's what you see. That's fine. If it makes you feel better, if it makes you sleep at night, to point out my flaws, like, hey, congratulations. I hope you sleep well at night. If you can point out, if pointing out my flaws makes you feel better. But I think accountability and ownership of who I am holistically has helped me quite a bit. And so, I mean, it started the whole aspect of me writing poetry and, you know, being able to do that. And even in the poetry that I write, I'm still talking about my flesh and the things that's wrong with me and what I need help with as far as God delivering me from those things. And so it helped me write the book. It helped me become more in touch, more in myself. And it's continuing to help me out in that way. And, you know, that's pretty much it.
Okay. And so, like you said, so now that you're walking this walk, like I said, you have a daughter and a son. So how does your faith help you in both of them? Because just like I said, one is going to be looking for a husband, the other one's going to be looking for a wife. So how do you think your faith help you to deal with them and then also encourage them or be an example to them for them to be able to, you know, do what they need to do in life, whether they go to church or don't go to church, but just be good people. So how is your walk and how you represent yourself to them? How do you think that's working?
I think it's working out pretty good. You know, my kids, one of the things they do, they come to me with anything now. They don't feel the need to hold stuff back. I think some things they do, I mean, because they're true brother and sister, they FaceTime each other every day. But a lot of the times, you know, stuff they talk about, they keep to themselves. Where they need to talk to me, they come talk to me. And I don't bring the judgmental, I'm gonna beat your butt type mentality, because I don't want to scare my kids into being obedient. I want to love them into obedience. Right. And I want to teach. And the belt don't always teach.
Right.
I'm not against corporal punishment, but if all you're doing is doing corporal punishment and you're not teaching anything, then the corporal punishment is of naught. And so I move corporal punishment out of the way, and I begin to teach, talk, have conversations and things of that matter. And that wonders way more than getting a belt like back in the day. You know, we had to go get it off the tree, and if it wasn't big enough, then, you know, she'll go get one or something like that. So I took that part out of it. And so I think it helped because they could come to me and, you know, and I don't make it super duper extra hard. I don't put any pressure on them to do something that's not in them to do. I allow them to develop their own personalities as much as I can. And I work, you know, it's parental guidance. It's not parental condemnation or parental judgment. It's parental guidance. So I'm more of their guidance in a sense. And so it's helping that way. Both of them have unique personalities. Both are doing good in school. And so I think that's how, you know, my example more than anything, more than my words, have influenced them in some kind of way. And of course, me going back to school, me getting my degrees, me working on my PhD, I also want to be an example of that. That look, dad is doing this, dad is doing that, dad is doing that, and ironically, me and my kids have the same learning style. So when they're not doing as well in school as they like to, I'm there to tell them, you know what, your dad learns the same way. Your dad has also failed 3 times before graduating high school. I graduated high school when I was 20. I failed the 1st, the 5th, and the 7th grade. So so all of my flaws and everything that has happened during my time, I'm pretty candid with them, particularly in my teenage years. A lot of the times we as parents, we think we need to be this perfect, upstanding person in order to be a good example. But a lot of the time, your children are going to reflect the life that you have lived at some point during your life, even from a biological influence. Some of my children got some traits and attitudes that match mine when I was, 15, 16 years old. So I think just me being open and honest about who I am as a person, who I was as a teenager, it makes them feel better about coming to me about things and not feeling like they're going to be judged harshly or be punished or be, beaten in some kind of way. So I think just being open and honest and candid with them, I think that has helped quite a bit as well.
Yeah, and I agree with you, because I know after I thought about it, or after I got into the love aspect of the word, and I told my wife one day, I said, if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't have spanked my kids,
right.
and because as the word say, in all you're getting, get an understanding. I don't really I don't get a true understanding, like you said. If I did something wrong, you say, go get the belt, go get the switch, whap, 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 now go to your room, cry it out, and then that's the end of it. Okay, where's the understanding? Where's, like you said, where's the teaching? Where's the guidance in that? So I said, yeah, if I had to do it all over again, I would, like I said, I would do just like you said. I would get them to understand what they did and what's the cause effect of what they did for now and in the future, if they keep it up or if they don't make that change, and what it can do to them. And once they get that understanding of it, then it's a whole different thing. Sometimes you don't even have to whoop them. They'll just start crying just because they understand what they caused and the trauma or the damage or whatever it was that they did. If you really break it down to them where they can understand it, that's enough. That's worse than a belt sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, we've only passed down what we've learned from our parents. You know what I'm saying? So
and at some point that cycle has to break. And I think that scripture right there that you mentioned, I think we miss that so much when it says in all thy getting get understanding. I think a lot of us are ignorant to knowing what it really means to gain understanding. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people in I work in mental health, there's a lot of parents that really don't know their children. They think they know them, but you know your child from a feared perspective. Your children fear you. So they're going to be on their best behaviors because of the fear of the consequence that may happen as a result of corporal punishment. But now they can't really be their true selves. So they have to find better ways to be their true self to avoid the corporal punishment, when really you really want to know that other side of your child, because if they turn out to be a certain way, and you can't say, well, it wasn't because of me because I whipped their butts all the time. No, it was actually because of you, because they were never able to show that side of them. And so because I took that out of it, because my son, when he was younger, he would go back to school and exercise the same bad behavior that I whipped him for. I said, okay, well, then something else has to take place, because there's no way that my little bitty son wants to come home to be whipped by his 300-pound dad every doggone day. So something has to give, and that has to be me. Somebody had to make that change now, and that had to be me. So I left it alone, and I think I stopped disciplining my son at age 7, and he's going to be 16 in a little bit. Something had to change, and so I had to be that change, and I made that change. And now my son trusts me, and I think people who have been whipped as corporal punishment, there's a level of trust that they have for their parents, but then there's a level of trust that they don't have for their parents because they feel like they can't be who they are because they're gonna keep getting punished for it. They're gonna keep getting condemned for it and things of that magnitude. And I had to learn that the hard way because my son, his behavior wouldn't improve.
Right.
It got worse over a period of time. So I just left it alone. And and my son is not scared of me anymore. And I didn't want my son to be terrified of his dad.
Right.
Because that could grow into resentment and bitterness, and it could cause a separation in relationship as well if I just keep putting it on them every time. So, yeah. But that's an understanding that I had to come to, and a lot of the times, it's hard for us to get there because we're so keyed in on looking at how we was raised and how much whipping helped me, but I can't, looking back in hindsight, I can't say that it helped me that much because I still screwed up quite a bit. I didn't do good in school. I didn't do good in school at all. You know what I'm saying? I have a 4.0 now, but there's so much I had to do to get to an understanding that, every child is different. Every human being is different. And what you fail to understand about your child at that particular time, you condemn. And a lot of the times we condemn that which we do not understand. And it's tragic in and of itself. And, and it took me a minute to learn that. I mean, I'm glad I know it now, but I teach that to my clients because about their children, when my clients come and see me, you can't keep condemning what you do not understand. You have to know your child, because when I talk to their children, there's a lot of things that their children tell me that they just didn't know about their child. I said, well, why would they tell you if you keep whipping them all the time? So,
yeah, that's definitely true. And, and like I said, once that God put that love on me and it started running through my head, I was like, wow. And then it just made me see that, again, like I said, all that's learned behavior from generations passed down, and so I said, something, I had to look at myself and say, okay, I forgive my parents because they were only doing what they was taught and what they learned from their parents.
Absolutely.
From their parents, which they learned from the slave masters. You see what I'm saying? It was always whooping if you did something wrong. So everything just got passed down, not knowing that there was another side to it, that you could just love somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I told my wife, I said, if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't whip them like that. I would just, like I said, try to get them to understand the consequences of what's going on, what they did, how they did it. And that would be much better, like you said, than what it is. And people would get that understanding. The children would understand instead of just fearing being beat. So yeah, man, I agree.
Yeah, and sometimes we could be so subjective in our approach to how we treat people. But Jesus was the great example of objectivity. He had empathy, and empathy is basically putting yourself in someone else's shoes and seeing things from their worldview. And Jesus was quintessential in doing things like that. He was the prototype. He was the archetype of that. Jesus was very objective in his approach. Every time the Pharisees approached him, Jesus would say, like the woman who was caught in adultery, Jesus never argued the scripture. He didn't. He argued the interpretation of the scripture. And a lot of the times that's my argument today. You quote the scripture very well, but I'm not going to debate you or argue with you about what the scripture says, but I am going to argue with you about how you interpret it. And so, the Pharisee says, well, this woman was caught in adultery. Jesus, she needs to be stoned to death. And pretty much, just paraphrasing, he never argued that point. Okay, Moses wrote the law, so I'm not going to say not to follow that law. But if there's any of you that have not committed any type of wrongdoing, why do you need me to do it? You go ahead and do it. And one by one, all of them being convicted, they walked away. And Jesus said, well, where are your accusers? I have none. And Jesus said, well, I'm not going to accuse you neither. And so he was objective in that particular aspect of it. And a lot of times that's my approach, is objective. I want to see things from another perspective. That Pharisaic mentality is such a subjective mentality that we use that on our kids for quite a long time. And so I don't use that approach anymore. I tried to understand the perspective. Jesus was understanding that this woman, yes, she did something wrong, but ain't none of y'all perfect. Ain't none of y'all ain't never did nothing that wasn't wrong in any kind of way. So I'm not about to cast these stones, and I'm not about to let y'all cast these stones neither. So that was a great lesson for me to learn at that particular time. And he was the one that exercised the empathy needed to say, I'm going to love this woman through her wrongdoing. I'm not about to condemn her, and I'm not about to stone her, and I'm not about to kill her. I said, what you did was wrong, understand that, but I'm not going to condemn you for it. So that's the approach I take to with anybody. You know, I'm not going to condemn you, but I'm going to try to understand where it comes from, because when you have an understanding of it, then you can minister to it better. You can teach from a better perspective, and you can have an understanding that, you know what, they're not purposefully trying to do anything malicious. Sometimes we do things out of ignorance, out of not knowing. And whipping somebody's behind is not going to make them know any better. It's just going to tell them, ooh, if I do this, then I'm going to get my butt whipped. But I don't know why I'm getting my butt whipped, and I don't know why it's so wrong. Can somebody do that? I mean, life is about trial and error. It's about, understanding what your errors are and trying to correct them.
Right, and that's exactly, and basically, like you said, and that's why that 1 John 4:8. If you don't know love, then you don't know God, because God is love. And so that's my whole thing. Everything you just said, and I try to have people understand. If that scripture says God is love, and then you're saying the word is God, then that means the words are love because they're of God. So everything in the Bible, all those words, you're supposed to look at that, like you said, through love. And if you're looking through love, then that means you're getting the understanding of the other person. It's not about you, it's about them. So if I try to understand, no matter what they did, how they did it, the way they did it, if I try to get an understanding of why they did that, because whatever it is that they did, they weren't walking in love, because if they did, they wouldn't have done it in the first place. So you can understand that. So yeah, I mean, it's
and First Corinthians said love keeps no record of wrongdoing.
Exactly.
And a lot of people, miss that aspect about love as well. It's from a charity perspective, but love nonetheless. Right. It keeps no record of wrongdoing. It hopes all things, it endures all things, it believes all things, it bears all things. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to look at it from that perspective as well.
Exactly. Well, man, I'm running out of time, but we definitely gonna have to have another conversation and get a little deeper in it. But right now,
absolutely.
I didn't even know you had the book, man. If I would have known that, I would have had you give me a copy of it. I would have put it up there. But let people know how they can get your book, how they can get a hold of you. And well, before we even let them know how to get a hold of you, for those that don't know you, well, no, I ain't even gonna have you. I was gonna have you go ahead and spit a little something, but I ain't even gonna do that. We just interviewing. So tell them that way. If they want to know how you spit, tell them how to get the book, how to get a hold of you, how to go see what you do, and how they can go ahead and book you for some events.
Okay, so the book is called Trifling to Transformed. The subtopic is How the Gift Exposed and Saved My Life. It's on Amazon. It's on Google Books. It's for electronic copies. Barnes and Noble's Nook app has it. Also, Amazon Kindle has it as well. And so you can get it on any digital distribution store as far as the book is concerned. As far as me spitting, I mean, you can go to Google and type in GF Soldier. I think all of my YouTube videos will show up. I'll just go to YouTube itself and just type in GF Soldier. Stands for God Fearing Soldier. And I'm on Instagram at Poet GF Soldier. I'm at Twitter at GF Soldier. Facebook /GF Soldier. And my name on Facebook is Hilton Christopher Young, but I'm still Facebook forward GF Soldier. So you get in touch with me that way. GF Soldier 2 at gmail.com for booking and things of that magnitude. But you just Google me. You'll be able to see me spit and all that other good stuff. So,
all right, great, man. Well, I'm glad you made it down there safe to NOLA, and everything is good. Hope you have a safe trip back. Take care of them kids, man. Make sure that they know that daddy loves them. And
absolutely.
Also, I want you to know, I know we have talked off and on throughout the years, but I just want to just thank you and appreciate you when you came out, did your thing at the meeting. And
Oh, it's my pleasure. I thank you for having me. No doubt.
Folks loved it. So, we go as soon as everything open back up, we have to try it again and see what happens. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So everybody, I want you to give a big hand to my main man, Christopher Young, aka GF Soldier. Have a good Christmas, brother.
All right, you too now.
All right, now.
All
right, ladies and gentlemen, that was GF Soldier, better known as Christopher Young, poet, and you know it. And he will actually, man, I'm telling you, you want that brother to throw down with you, man, at some events and do his poetry. I mean, man, you don't know what you're missing. He is wonderful, as I say, dynamic at what he's doing. He's a ministry. When I say a strong ministry, it's like a preacher poet. That's what he is. When he does that poetry, it's like a preacher preaching. Bring forth some good words. So y'all make sure y'all check him out. And so this has been, once again, my friends, Love Sync Ministries, Love Sessions. Make sure that you like and comment on Facebook, and make sure that you go to YouTube and you like, comment, subscribe, hit notifications, and go in there and view all the past videos. Even go down and where you see me and my wife when we were doing Love Talk. Those are real and raw. Some of those you might catch the right ones where we had some arguments and she walked off on me. So hey, everything ain't perfect, but we still love. You know what I'm saying? It's all love. So until I see you again, you guys take care. Enjoy your holidays. Be safe, and make sure you wear your mask, social distance. We had too many people that have died of COVID. I just have to mention real quick in the DFW area. Y'all know Pastor Fred. I've been on the Ricky Smiley show, done some other comedy shows here in the area, and some other things. Has passed away. I know my sister had him in one of her plays. So you guys, man, take this stuff serious. Don't be playing around with your life. Remember, if this is supposed to be the temple, well, you got to keep that temple healthy. You have to keep that temple in great shape to be able to be used of God for what God needs for you to do for God on this earth. So y'all make sure y'all take care of yourself and be safe out there. Until next time, like again, this is Brother Darryl McGriff, Love Sync Ministries, Love Sessions. Let's build this up and be the best thing since sliced bread, as they say. So you guys take care, stay in